The drip woke him before the alarm did. Noah Reyes lay still for a moment listening. Drip, pause, drip. It came through the thin wall to his left from his daughter's room. The sound had lived in their mornings all winter, a reminder that the ceiling above Lily's bed needed more money than he had. He rolled out of bed, feet hitting cold floorboards, and crossed the narrow hallway. Gray light edged the blinds. The radiators in their third-floor walk-up were quiet. He pushed Lily's door open with his knuckles. She was a small shape under the blanket hair spilled over her pillow. The plastic bucket beneath the brown stain in the ceiling sat half full. Each drop made a soft, hollow sound. Noah reached up and pressed his palm to the ceiling. Damp, not soaked. He checked the bucket. Not overflowing, not yet. "Daddy." Her voice was muffled. One eye peeked over the blanket. "Is it raining again?" "Just a sprinkle," he said. "Go back to sleep. I've got it. You said you were going to fix it." "I will." He moved the bucket an inch so the drip hit the center. "I just have to fix other people's leaks first." She thought about that, then pushed herself upright. "Is it a wardline day?" "They're all wardline days," he said. In the kitchen, the coffee maker rattled and hissed. He poured cereal, checked Lily's backpack, signed the permission slip he had left on the counter. Mornings ran on habit. If he kept moving, they did not get the chance to fall apart. By the time Lily padded in, the sky over Chicago had lightened. She wore leggings, his old hoodie bunched at the sleeves, and socks that did not match. She carried a piece of paper in both hands. "Look," she said, climbing into her chair. "I finished it." A castle filled the page. Towers rose at different heights, each with a flag. One tower near the center was darker. The pencil pressed so hard the paper wrinkled. A crack split it from top to bottom. Around it she had drawn ladders and stick figures with tiny toolboxes. "The middle one broke," Lily said, reaching for the cereal box. "But they didn't knock it down. They put ladders. They're fixing it." "Looks like a lot of work," he said. "Good things are a lot of work," she answered. He studied the cracked tower, then taped the drawing to the fridge beside a dragon and 3 smaller castles. Whole sections of the wall were turning into Lily's paper kingdom. It made the apartment feel less like a stopover. "You working high today?" she asked. "High enough," he said, buttoning his dark blue work shirt. The Wardline Tower logo sat over his heart. "Like up in the clouds." "Not that high." She did not look convinced. "One day," she said, "you should fix the top. Then I can tell people my dad fixed the Sky Building." "The Sky Building has people," he said. "I just fix the parts nobody sees." When it was time to leave, he knelt to tie her shoelaces. Her fingers rested briefly on his shoulder. "Are you coming at 3?" she asked. "That's the plan? If something breaks and I get stuck, Grandma will come, same as always." She nodded. 7 was old enough to know plans did not always listen. Outside, the air bit at their faces. They walked the familiar route to school, past the laundromat and the corner store. Lily's hand fit into his without effort. She hopped over cracks in the sidewalk castle, drawing tucked in her backpack. At the school gate, he crouched so they were eye level. "Remember," he said, "if I'm not there, you wait for Grandma inside. No standing out here on your own. Deal." "Deal," she said, then leaned in and kissed his wrist so no one would see. He watched her slip into the stream of kids, then turned toward the river. Wardline Tower rose out of the haze blue glass against gray sky. From the sidewalk it looked smooth and sealed, like nothing inside could leak. Noah had spent 6 years in its service corridors and utility shafts. He knew the sound of its generators and the smell of its concrete dust. Inside, the lobby smelled of polish and whatever they sprayed on the living wall of plants behind the reception desk. The floor gleamed. His boots left faint marks until the mat took them. People in suits moved through security in small clusters, badges flashing at the turnstiles. Eyes slid past him. "Morning, Reyes," the security guard said. "Morning, Dan." The scanner blinked green. The turnstile clicked. Noah walked past the line of express elevators with their brushed steel doors and mirrored panels and pressed the button for the service bank along the side wall. The elevator that answered had scuffed walls and a dull floor. Basement first, then mechanical, then the office floors where people called about thermostats and flickering lights. The maintenance office was a narrow room with a bulletin board, a metal desk, and a coffee pot older than his job. His supervisor, Marty, sat under a buzzing fluorescent tube tablet in hand. "Thought the cold would scare you off," Marty said. "Cold is fine," Noah replied. "Leaks are louder." Marty snorted and handed him the tablet. "Same old, electrical on 12, sensor on 17, something on 19, that says urgent in all caps." Noah scanned the list mapping his day. As his thumb moved, a new line slid into place at the top of the screen. The font was different. Priority Executive Operations, Location 50 Way. He read it twice. "You seeing what I'm seeing?" he asked. Marty leaned over. His eyebrows went up. "Well, somebody up there remembered we exist. I thought 30 was our ceiling." "That is what the handbook says." Marty scratched his jaw. "Looks like somebody with a nicer office did not read the handbook." Maybe they meant 15. System does not usually get creative. He tapped the order. "Executive level priority. That means overtime, Reyes." Noah thought of the bucket under Lily's ceiling, of the building manager in their walk-up, shrugging and promising to get someone up there. "What do they want on 51? He asked. "Just says technical inspection. Do your regular rounds, keep the radio on. They'll ping you when they're ready. Try not to scare anybody important." Marty studied his face. "You good with going up there?" Extra hours meant extra pay. Extra pay meant maybe the leak in Lily's room met actual roofers instead of his bucket. "Yeah," Noah said. "I'm good." He adjusted the strap of his tool bag until the weight settled against his shoulder, then stepped back into the hallway to start his route. By late morning, the building had settled into its weekday hum. Phones rang behind closed doors. Printers whined. Somewhere on 17, someone burned toast in a break room and set off a local alarm that died before Noah even reached for his radio. He moved through his list the way he always did, one problem at a time. Replace a motion sensor that refused to wake the lights. Reseat a loose cable in a ceiling panel. Reset a thermostat that an assistant had punched to its lowest setting and then forgotten. Each small fix gave him the quiet click of completion in his head. The order for 51 sat at the top of the tablet. It did not blink, it did not shout, it simply waited. Around 11:30, his radio crackled. "Reyes, you still have that exec-level ticket." Marty's voice was flattened by static. "Yeah," Noah said. 51A, no one has called me up. "They are calling now. Security cleared your badge. Take service elevator 4 to 51. Try not to breathe too loud." "Copy," Noah said. He felt the words settle in his chest as he slipped the radio back on his belt. On the service level, the elevator doors closed with a metallic sigh. He swiped his badge and watched the panel. For 6 years, the highest light he had ever seen was 30. The button for 51 glowed white. The car began to climb. Floor numbers ticked past, then slowed as it neared the top of his new world. There was a faint change in pressure in his ears. The building felt different up here, as if the air itself had been ironed smooth. The doors opened on a hallway that did not belong to the same city as the basement. The carpet had a depth his boots sank into, dyed a careful shade between gray and blue. The walls were paneled in pale wood, interrupted by stretches of glass that showed the city spread below winter light, bouncing off the river. There was no clutter, no taped signs, no scuff marks at floor level. The only sound was the soft, steady whisper of the ventilation system. Noah stepped out and wiped the edge of his tool bag with his palm, as if that would make it less out of place. There was no reception desk here, no guard sitting at a podium, just a quiet corridor with closed doors, each discreetly numbered in brushed metal. The numbers skipped, leaving blanks where some suites had no visible marking at all. He looked down at his tablet. 51A. The arrow on the map placed it at the far end of the hall, near a corner where the carpet curved. His boots made the slightest squeak on the polished floor. He tried to shorten his stride to make himself smaller. The building did not care. It had been designed for people who moved without apology. The door to 51A looked like the others, simple and expensive. No sign, no glass window, just a slim card reader with a green light. He checked the work order again. Technical inspection. No details on which system. The request had been authorized from an executive account higher than anything he normally saw. He raised his hand and knocked twice. No answer. He waited, listening for movement inside. Nothing. The hallway remained still. He tried again, louder. His knuckles made a soft, deadened thud against the wood. Still nothing. He glanced back down the hall. Empty. Gently, he wrapped his fingers around the handle and applied a little pressure, intending only to test. The latch gave. The door opened inward without resistance. He did not think of camera angles or access logs. He thought of the way doors on the lower floors fought back when they were locked, the unmistakable catch of metal. This one moved like a breath. He stepped forward on instinct, just enough to see. Light spilled from tall windows on the far side of the room. It washed over pale stone floors and a low sofa and the edge of a wardrobe with mirrored doors. For a second, that was all his brain took in. Then his gaze landed on the woman in front of the mirror. She stood with her back half turned, one arm threaded into the sleeve of a silk blouse, the other holding the fabric in place across her chest. A dark dress pooled on a chair beside her. Her feet were bare. Her hair, a sheet of dark blonde, fell loose to her shoulders instead of the severe knot she wore in photographs. The glass threw her reflection back at him. Her eyes met his in the mirror. For one blank beat, no one moved. Noah's fingers tightened on the door handle. Heat surged up his neck into his face. Words rose, but they jammed at the back of his throat. "I am so sorry," he tried to say. The sound did not come. Elena Ward did not scream. Her mouth parted, then closed. Her shoulders drew tight. The hand clutching the blouse convulsed. The air in the room changed. It was not something he could see. It was something he felt in his own chest, as if the oxygen thinned. Her pupils widened. All the color seemed to drop out of her face at once. Her gaze flicked from the mirror to the actual doorway. To him. His blue work shirt. The tool bag at his hip. His frozen stance exactly one step inside her private space. This is bad, he thought. Move. Say something. Back out. Leave. Nothing happened. His feet stayed planted. His hands stayed closed on the metal. "Do not come closer," she said. The words were thin and flat, not sharp with anger, not loud. They sounded like they belonged to another room entirely, as if they had been waiting somewhere in the dark for years and finally found a mouth to use. He swallowed. "I did not know this was your," he managed. "I have a work order. It said 51A. I thought it was a server room. I should have knocked again. I am sorry. I will just—" The sentence broke apart. Behind him in the hallway, something chirped. A tone he had heard 100 times in stairwells and service corridors, but never this close to expensive wallpaper. Short rising notes followed by a hard, mechanical buzz. Unauthorized access his brain supplied. A strip of red light above the door began to flash. Somewhere nearby, a recessed speaker spoke, in a calm female voice that did not match his panic. "Security alert, executive suite override." In the corridor, heavy footsteps pounded against the soft carpet. Two figures in dark uniforms came into view, moving fast. The first one reached the door, grabbed Noah by the shoulder, and yanked him back so hard the handle slipped from his grasp. He hit the wall, with one palm tool bag swinging. A hand shoved his arm up between his shoulder blades. "Hands where I can see them," the guard snapped. "I did not do anything," Noah said. His cheek brushed cool plaster. His mind ran in circles. "I have a ticket. Check the system. It was open." The second guard stepped into the room, placing himself between Elena and the door. His posture was professional eyes, hard voice suddenly softer. "Ms. Ward, are you all right?" Noah could not see her now, only the shadow of her bare feet on the marble floor and the hem of the blouse she had managed to pull closed. His face burned with shame that had nothing to do with guilt. "I am fine," she said. The lie sat there audible even to him. The guard closest to him tightened his grip. "We can detain him," he told her. "Have him escorted out and his badge deactivated. Completely up to you." Hearing his fate laid out in that even tone made Noah's stomach drop. He pictured the bucket in Lily's room, the way she had said good things were a lot of work. He drew a breath that did not feel like it reached his lungs. "Please," he said, not sure who he was speaking to. "I am assigned here. I did not override anything. Somebody let me in." "Save it," the guard behind him muttered. There was a small silence. Noah heard the faint shift of fabric as Elena moved. Her voice, when it came again, sounded more like the one he had heard on company earnings calls in the background of break rooms. Smoother armor settling piece by piece. "Hold on," she said. The second guard angled himself to keep her in view. "Ma'am, given what this looks like, the safest course is—" I said, "Hold on." Something in her tone made even the guard at Noah's back ease off a fraction. From the corner of his eye, Noah saw her look down. Her gaze snagged on the floor near a low built-in cabinet at the base of the wardrobe. She stepped closer, bare soles whispering against stone. A thin line marred the perfect carpet there, running parallel to the cabinet. The fibers were ruffled, the color slightly darker. She crouched, touched it with 2 fingers. Her breath caught just enough. That line had not been there when she walked in earlier. Her eyes lifted to Noah. For the first time, she seemed to really look at him, not through him. He saw calculation, yes, but of a different kind than the guard expected. Not how to remove a problem, but what kind of problem she actually had. The guard at his shoulder spoke again. "Ms. Ward, do you want us to remove him from the building and start the paperwork for termination?" The word slammed into him. Termination. Of what? Job. Stability. The thin balance he had with his life. Her gaze stayed on his face. She searched it as if she were used to reading people whose lives were negotiated in conference rooms, not service corridors. There was nowhere for him to hide. His pulse hammered in his throat. He knew he looked scared. He was scared. Not of her. Of the building spitting him out. "No," she said. The guard blinked. "No," he repeated. "Take him to the main security office," she said. I want to see every access log tied to this room before anyone makes decisions about his employment." The hand on Noah's arm tightened again, but the pressure was different now, procedural, not punishing. "Yes, ma'am." They pulled him away from the doorway. As he turned, he saw Elena straighten one hand still on the place where the carpet was marked. Her blouse was fully buttoned now. Her face had color again, though he could not tell if it came from anger or something else. For a second their eyes met without the filter of a mirror. Then the guard guided him down the hall, boots squeaking once on the carpet before his soles adjusted. The red light above 51A stopped flashing. The door swung slowly shut behind him, sealing the room and whatever had just happened inside. The security office was not a dungeon. It was beige. Beige walls, beige doors, beige chairs bolted to the floor. A vending machine hummed in the corner. The air smelled faintly of burned coffee and carpet cleaner. Someone had left a magazine on a side table 3 months ago and never moved it. The guards walked Noah through a short hall and into a room with a metal table and 2 chairs. One sat facing a camera mounted in the corner. They picked that one for him. "Sit," the first guard said. Noah sat. His tool bag landed on the floor with a soft thud that sounded too loud. "We will be right outside," the second guard added. "Do not try the door." They left. The door clicked. The lock engaged with a small, sure sound. He stared at the table. It had a line of scratches where someone had once dragged a key along the surface again and again. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it should have, each second stretching. He tried to slow his breathing, tried to focus on something simple like the pattern of the laminate or the rhythm of the vent. His thoughts kept jumping. Lily at school tracing the crack in the tower on her drawing. Marty in the basement raising his eyebrows at the 51 ticket. The look on Elena Ward's face when she said, "Do not come closer." He swallowed back the taste of metal in his mouth. The door opened again sooner than he expected. A security manager he recognized from yearly safety briefings stepped in, tablet under his arm. His tie was slightly crooked, his badge clipped to his belt instead of his pocket. "Reyes," he said, "I am John Keller. I need you to walk me through your morning. Start at the time you came on the property." Noah talked. He described clocking in, fixing the motion sensor, the thermostat, the burned toast alarm. He showed the call on his own tablet that had sent him to 51. He repeated that the door had been unlocked, that he had knocked, that no one had answered. Keller listened to fingers moving on his screen. His face stayed neutral. "You did not use any codes you are not supposed to know," Keller said. "No. You did not follow another employee through a secured door." "No, the elevator took my badge." Keller nodded. He tapped something on his tablet, then stood. "Wait here." The door closed again. When Keller left the room, felt smaller. Noah let his head drop into his hands and counted back from 100 in his head, the way he had taught Lily to do when she woke up from nightmares. The numbers tangled around 73. The next door Noah passed through had no beige. Keller returned and told him to bring his things. They walked down the hall, took a sharp turn, and stepped into a larger room filled with screens. Rows of monitors covered one wall, each showing a different angle of the building in muted colors. Technicians sat at a long console, headphones around their necks, fingers moving over keyboards. Elena Ward stood behind them. She had changed into a tailored jacket, her hair pulled back again, but the skin at her throat still held a faint flush. Her arms were folded, eyes fixed on the largest monitor, where a set of system logs glowed. For a moment, Noah thought they would ignore him completely. Then she turned her head. "Bring him in," she said. Keller gestured to a spot near the back wall. "Stand there, please." Noah moved where he was told. He kept his hands at his sides and his mouth shut. On the main screen, a timeline of events for room 51A scrolled. Colored bars marked unlocks, motion detections, alarm triggers. "Back it up 10 minutes before the alarm," Elena said. A technician dragged the slider at the bottom of the screen. A hallway camera feed appeared in a window. The view showed the corridor outside 51A empty. Timestamps marched in the corner. "Play," she ordered. The footage ran. Nothing moved. At 11:39, the image froze, then dissolved into gray static. The timer kept counting. At 11:40, the picture snapped back. The elevator doors at the end of the hall opened. Noah watched a man in a dark blue work shirt step out, tool bag on his shoulder. His own face, smaller and flatter than it felt inside his skull, looked down at the tablet in his hand, then started walking toward the camera. "Pause there," Elena said. The technician stopped the footage on the frame of Noah halfway down the hall. Elena pointed at the gap on the timeline where the static had been. "Explain that?" The technician cleared his throat. "We had a signal interruption on that camera. It dropped off the network for 58 seconds. Then it came back online." "Due to what?" We are still trying to determine that. There was no building-wide outage at that time, no server restart. It looks like a manual cut of that feed. From where? Her voice stayed level, but the air around her felt charged. That is what we are investigating. She shifted her attention to another screen where the access logs for 51A listed entries in small rows of text. Scroll, lines blurred with numbers and codes. She lifted a finger. There, 9 minutes before the alert, the door was opened. The technician zoomed in. Door opened from interior release, he read. No badge recorded. So the door was unlocked from the inside, she said, not by an external card reader. Yes, ma'am. Her jaw tightened. I was not in that room at that time, she said. I stepped out for a call in Conference C at 11:28. That door is supposed to lock automatically behind me, is it not? Yes, ma'am, the technician repeated more quietly. Then tell me why it did not. No one had an answer yet. Fingers moved faster over keyboards. More windows opened on the screens. The room had gone completely silent, except for the faint tapping of keys and the low hum of the machines. A second technician spoke up from farther down the row. Ms. Ward, he said, we found something else. She turned toward him. In the access control logs, he continued, an hour before the incident, someone tried to log in with a deactivated employee account. The credentials should have failed, but they got far enough to submit a configuration change. What kind of change? Permissions on executive suites, room 51A among them. He pulled the record onto the main screen. A string of numbers appeared, then a small note in the margin field. Override autolock flag 51A true. So, she said slowly, someone used a dead account to tell the system not to lock my door. Then a few minutes before my scheduled break, someone inside that room opened the door from the inside. Then the hallway camera went black, and when it came back, he walked out of the elevator. Her eyes flicked toward Noah as she said he. He held her gaze as steadily as he could. His throat felt dry. Miss Ward, Keller said carefully, we do not have evidence yet of who used that account. We are pulling network traces. Do that, she said, and send me every name that had access to those credentials. She let out a breath. It did not sound like relief. Bring up his profile, she added. One of the technicians minimized the camera feeds and opened the human resources portal. A search box filled, then a file appeared. Noah caught the small, familiar ID photo in the corner. Himself slightly younger, caught off guard at orientation. The screen listed 6 years of employment. No disciplinary actions, no missed shifts. A note about safety awards. An emergency contact with his mother's number and a dependent line with Lily's name and age. Elena read in silence. Something shifted in her face, not enough for him to name, but enough to see. She turned away from the monitor. Mr. Reyes, she said. He straightened at the sound of his name. Yes. Come with me. Keller looked like he wanted to protest. He did not. No one else moved. She walked out of the control room without checking whether he followed. He did. The walk to her office was short. The corridor felt different than it had earlier when he had crept along it alone. The same expensive carpet, the same view, but now he could hear the soft click of her heels, the low buzz of concealed vents. Inside the office, glass walls framed the city. A long desk sat near the windows, neat except for a slim laptop and a glass of water. She closed the door herself and nodded toward one of the chairs in front of the desk. Sit. He sat. His tool bag stayed on the floor strap coiled. For a few seconds she did nothing at all, just stood there looking at him as if she were trying to align the man in front of her with the row of text she had just read. When you came to this building this morning, she said, did you have any reason to believe you would be on this floor today? No, he said. I have been here 6 years. That was the first time my badge lit up that high. You did not ask for that assignment. No, it came through like any other ticket. My supervisor can confirm. She nodded once. You understand how this looks, she said. A guy from the basement walks into the CEO's dressing room, he answered. Yes, I understand. There was a hint of something like humor in the angle of her mouth. It passed quickly. We checked the logs, she said. The door to that room was unlocked from the inside before you arrived. The automatic lock was disabled earlier today by someone using a deactivated account. The hallway camera went down less than a minute before you stepped off the elevator. She let that sink in. This was not random, Mr. Reyes. Someone arranged the circumstances to make exactly what happened possible. He sat back a little. The chair creaked under his weight. So someone set me up, he said. Hearing it out loud made his heart jolt, or tried to. Her eyes did not leave his face. Someone set both of us up, she said. The words hung there between them. Someone set both of us up. Noah sat very still. Outside the glass, Chicago lay under a low sheet of cloud, the river a dark ribbon between blocks of light. The office had not turned on its lamps yet. The last of the afternoon filtered in cool and flat. Why, he asked quietly, would anyone want that? Her fingers tapped once against the edge of the desk, then stilled. There are people, she said, who do not like surprises. They prefer the world arranged to suit them. When it is not, they push things around until it is. People on your board. It was a guess. It did not feel wild. Her gaze shifted past him to some point beyond the glass. Some of them, she said. There was no point asking for names. The set of her mouth said this was not the place. She drew a breath, lifted her hand, and for a second he thought she would adjust her blazer or tighten her hair. Instead, she pressed her fingers lightly just below her collarbone, as if to check that she was solid. You should know something, she said, so that you understand that what happened outside my door this morning was not about you. He swallowed. Okay? I did not freeze because I thought you were a threat, she said. I froze because my body learned something 3 years ago it will not unlearn. She moved away from the desk toward the window. The light from outside caught along the glass towers across the river, then slid down into the street. There was an industry conference, she said, in New York. Big hotel, bigger sponsors. Wardline had just gone public. I was the keynote speaker. He could picture it, the smooth stage, the perfect lighting, her in a dark dress with a microphone pinned near her collar. There was a shared dressing area for presenters, she continued. Nothing fancy. A rack of clothes, some mirrors, a table with makeup wipes and bottled water. People went in and out all day. Her voice stayed even, almost detached. The details did the work. I was getting ready for my slot when a man walked in, she said. Another CEO. Someone I had known for years. We had sat on panels together. We had shared cabs when it rained. I did not think anything of it at first. People wandered in and out. She let the memory unfold piece by piece. He closed the door, she said. Not completely, just enough. He told me my talk was going to be the highlight of the conference. He said all the right things. I laughed. I reached for my jacket. Her hand mimicked the motion, then lowered. He stepped closer, she said. Too close. He put his hand on my arm when I tried to move past him. It was not rough at first. That was the worst part. He sounded calm, reasonable. He said I owed him a drink for introducing me to an investor. He said we could have it now instead of after my talk. Noah felt his jaw tighten. The office seemed to narrow around her words. When I told him no, he squeezed, she said, hard enough that I heard something in my wrist pop. It did not occur to me at first that he might not stop. That was naive. Her reflection in the window was a faint outline against the thickening sky. I told him to let go, she said, quietly. I did not want to make a scene. We were in a suite just off the main ballroom. I could hear the moderator on stage through the door. It felt unreal. His hand kept moving, up, in, like my body was something on a guest list he could check. Her fingers curled on the windowsill, white at the knuckles. I got away, she said, because someone else came in, another presenter. They pushed the door all the way open and asked if we were almost done. He smiled, turned it into a joke, told them he was just wishing me luck. Then he walked out. She turned from the glass. Her eyes were clear, but there was a tightness around them that no amount of control could erase. I went on stage 5 minutes later, she said. I gave the keynote. People stood up at the end. They wrote pieces about the way I talked about the future of infrastructure. No one knew that I could still feel his hand on my arm. Noah pictured her under bright lights, speaking about systems and networks, while her body hummed with adrenaline and dread. I did not go to the police, so, she said. There were lawyers. There were non-disclosure agreements. There were conversations about what a headline would do to the stock price. I told myself I had gotten away, that I was fine. Her laugh was a short, dry sound. A year before that, she added, there was another man, a different city, a different room. I did not get away as quickly. The marks lasted longer. She lifted a shoulder as if to say she was not interested in laying those injuries out on the table. It was enough that they existed. Since then, she said, my nervous system reacts to certain things whether I want it to or not. Closed doors, someone appearing where I do not expect them, sudden loss of control over my surroundings. Her gaze flicked to him. When I saw you in that doorway, she said, my mind knew you were a maintenance tech holding a tool bag. My body did not wait for that information. Noah sat forward, elbows resting on his knees. I walked into a room where I did not belong, he said. You had every right to be upset. I was upset, she said. I was not afraid of you. The distinction felt important. She moved back toward the desk. As she reached for a folder, the edge of her jacket slipped. For a fraction of a second, the neckline of her blouse shifted, revealing a shadow on her skin. It was not the deep purple of a fresh blow, but a diluted mix of yellow and green fading at the edges, oval-shaped just above the clavicle. His eyes caught it before his manners did. He dragged his gaze back up at once, but the afterimage stayed, an echo of fingers where fingers had no right to be. She straightened, tugging the fabric back into place. Her hand lingered against the spot, an unconscious reflex. They pretended together that he had not seen. She closed the folder without opening it. "I am sorry," she said, "if my reaction this morning made you feel as if you had done something monstrous." He shook his head. "I opened a door without waiting long enough," he said. "That part is on me. The part that matters to me," she said, "is that you stopped. You did not move toward me. You did not try to smooth it over. You did not smile and say it was nothing. You froze like I did in that dressing room. That is not the posture of a predator, Mr. Reyes. That is the posture of someone in the wrong place at the wrong time, just as startled as the person on the other side." He let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. "So what now?" he asked. Her eyes went to the door of her office, then to the keypad on the wall that controlled its lock. "Now," she said, "I fix what I can fix." The conversation that followed took shape over the next day. In the morning, after another round in the control room, she called him back up. This time, the sun was high, throwing sharp rectangles of light across her desk. A stack of printed reports sat between them, but she pushed them aside. "I need someone on this floor whose job is to look at the systems the way you look at a broken panel," she said. "Someone who is not beholden to the people who benefit from blind spots." He frowned. "I am a maintenance tech," he said. "I fix what is in front of me. I do not run investigations." "Your job would still be maintenance," she said. "Maintenance of the systems that protect these offices. Cameras, locks, access controls. Right now, they are overseen by people who answer to the same executives who sit on my board. I need another set of eyes." She slid a document across the desk. "Temporary assignment, executive-level technical support, and security systems." His name filled the line under position. He glanced down the page. Same base pay, shift hours adjusted, location listed as floors 51 through 55. There was a note about expanded responsibilities. "Why me?" he asked. "You have a whole IT department." "They are busy," she said, "and they are part of the structure someone just exploited. You, on the other hand, have spent 6 years crawling through the veins of this building without trying to climb out of them." "That is a poetic way to say I am a guy from the basement," he said. "You are the only person in this tower I can be certain was not involved in what happened in front of my door," she replied. "That counts for something." He looked at the paper again, at the line that would keep him on the executive floors instead of swinging between low-level calls. "This is more hours," he said slowly, "more responsibility. Yes, more time away from my kid. Possibly." He set the page down. His hands were steady, but he felt a familiar tightening in his chest at the thought of the school gate at 3:00, Lily scanning faces. "I cannot say yes without one condition," he said. Her brows lifted. "You are negotiating with me," she said. There was no anger in it, only curiosity. "I am trying to be honest," he said. "Sometimes my mother cannot pick up Lily. When that happens, it is just me. I can stay late if I know in advance. I can come back after I take her home. I can work around most things, but I need to be able to leave when she needs me. Not every day, not on a whim, only when there is no one else." For a moment she did not speak. The city hummed beyond the glass. Somewhere above, an unseen airplane cut through cloud. "In your file," she said, "it says you refused a promotion to a supervisory position 2 years ago." "I did," he said. "They wanted nights. I wanted to see my daughter awake. And you did not tell them that at the time." "They did not ask." She studied him. There was no pity in her gaze, only assessment. "If I agree," she said, "you understand that sometimes this floor will need you at inconvenient hours." "I understand," he said. "If I have warning, I will show up. If I do not have warning, and Lily is standing on a sidewalk waiting, she comes first." It was the clearest he had ever been with anyone whose signature could alter his paycheck. Something softened, just a fraction, in her posture. "Bring her here if you have to," she said. "On those days, I will make sure security knows her name and her face. This tower belongs to the people who keep it standing, as much as it does to the people whose names are on the front." He blinked. "That is not what I expected you to say," he admitted. "What did you expect?" "A speech about priorities," he said. And maybe a lecture on how there are 100 other guys who would take this without conditions. There are, she said. None of them were outside my door this morning. None of them have quite the same look on their face when they talk about a 7-year-old with a drawer full of castle sketches. He felt the heat rise to his face again, a different kind this time. So, she said, tapping the paper once with her fingertip, is it a yes, Mr. Reyes? He imagined Lily's bucket being replaced by an actual repair. He imagined her drawing a castle with a roof that did not drip. He imagined walking the quiet halls of this floor with his eyes open, looking not just at broken panels, but at the seams where something worse might creep in. Yes, he said. It is a yes. She nodded as if that had been the only possible answer. I will have the assignment filed by the end of the day, she said. You start tomorrow. He picked up the paper, folded it carefully, and slipped it into his tool bag. As he reached for the strap, she spoke again. Noah. He looked up. It was the first time she had used his first name. If at any point, she said, this arrangement puts your daughter at risk, you tell me. Not security, not your supervisor, me. All right. Right, he said. Nah. He stepped out of her office and into the hallway. The door closed behind him with a soft, precise click, the lock engaging at once. He looked at the keypad on the wall, then at his own reflection in the glass opposite. For the first time since he had put on a wardline badge, he was not entirely sure whether he was supposed to be on this floor or whether it was supposed to be his. Noah's first day on the executive floors began with a new badge and the same old elevator. The badge looked almost identical to his previous one, except for a small silver stripe at the top. The security guard at the lobby turnstile tilted it in his hand, so it caught the light. Look at you, Dan said, moving up in the world. Still fixing toilets just higher up, Noah replied. Dan grinned and handed it back. Do not say that too loud up there. The service elevator recognized the new stripe. When he swiped, the panel lit all the way to 55. He pressed 51 and felt the small kick in his stomach as the car rose past the level where his days used to end. He had traded his stained work shirt for a clean one that still smelled faintly of laundry soap. His tool bag was the same. The weight of it grounded him as the doors opened on the quiet corridor. The floor looked no different than before. Same deep carpet, same panels of pale wood and glass. The difference was him. This time he belonged here on purpose. He started with the list Keller had sent overnight. Audit camera mounts. Physically inspect the locks on executive suites. Check for any sign of tampering that would not show up in a log entry. For hours he moved along the corridors and measured loops, opening access panels that had not seen a screwdriver in years. He traced cables behind discrete vents and under baseboards. He found one loose connector and a filter clogged with dust. Otherwise, the hardware looked clean, untouched. When he stepped into the control alcove for the private elevator that served the boardroom, he ran his thumb along the edge of the lock housing and felt a faint burr. The screws on one side were newer than the others. They had been turned more recently. The metal around them held tiny circular marks from a tool of a different size than the one maintenance used. He made a note in his tablet, snapped a picture, then tightened the screws to the proper tension with his own bit. The lock's status light flickered, then steadied. By noon, his shoulders ached from reaching above his head. The only human contact he had was the occasional nod from an assistant carrying a stack of files, or a man in a tailored jacket, who glanced past him as if he were part of the decor. He had just closed the access panel on a camera near conference room C when Elena's assistant approached. Mr. Reyes, she said, Mrs. Ward asked me to make sure you got some lunch. There is a cafeteria on 52. Staff is cleared to use it. Her name was Kara. She had the calm voice of someone who handled calendars that stretched across continents. I am fine, he said. I bring my own. Take a break anyway, she said. You are making everyone nervous crawling around like that. There was a flicker of humor in her eyes. He allowed himself a short smile. Tell them I will try to be less creepy, he said. The cafeteria on 52 was a different planet from the cramped employee lounge on 12. Light poured in from a wall of windows. Tables were spaced so no one had to hear anyone else's conversations. The food line offered salad that did not come out of a plastic bag and coffee that did not taste like burnt rubber. He sat alone near the window, ate the sandwich he had packed, and watched the river cut through the city. From this height, the cars looked like pieces on a board game Lily might draw. He felt both small and too visible. By late afternoon, he had finished his checklist. Back in the small office that had been assigned to him on 51, he synced his notes with the central system. A handful of new flags appeared in the security queue, small evidence that someone was now looking. Marty called once from the basement. "How's the weather up there?" he asked. Thin Noah said, "Too quiet. You break anything yet?" "Not on purpose." Marty chuckled. "Remember us little people when you are drinking the good coffee." After they hung up, Noah checked the time. 2:30. If he left at that moment, he could make it to the school gate. The assignment said his hours were flexible, but he did not yet know where the edges of that word lay. He was still thinking about it at 2:45 when his phone buzzed in his pocket. His mother's name lit the screen. He stepped into the hall before answering. "Hey." "I am sorry, mijo," she said, breathless. "Doctor is behind. I am still waiting. I will not make it by 3. He pinched the bridge of his nose. "I can be there in 30 minutes if I leave now," he said. "Maybe a little more if the train hates me." "I hate the thought of Lily waiting," she said. "She knows the routine," he said. "She will stay inside. I will call the office, tell them I am on my way. I have to clear it here first." "You are working on the fancy floor today, yes?" she said. "Ask your boss. The worst they can say is no." The worst felt heavier than that, but he knew what she meant. "I will call you back," he said. He hung up and headed for Elena's office before he could talk himself out of it. Kara looked up as he approached. "Is she free?" he asked. "It is quick. She has 5 minutes before her next call," Kara said. "Go ahead." This time he did not knock like a man approaching a forbidden door. He knocked like an employee with a reason to be there. "Come in," Elena said. She sat at her desk, a neat stack of papers on one side, 2 monitors lit in front of her. The skyline behind her had shifted from white to pale blue. "What do you need, Mr. Reyes?" she asked. He told her about the doctor's appointment, about his mother stuck in a waiting room across town, about the fact that the school would not let Lily stand outside alone. "I can stay late tonight," he said. "I can log the rest of the audit after she is home. I just cannot be in 2 places at 3:00. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she did not sigh or look at the clock. "Go get her," she said. "Bring her back here. Use the side entrance when you return. I will tell security to expect you. You can work from the office next to mine while she does her homework." He blinked. "You are sure?" he said. "I do not backtrack on conditions I agree to." 24 hours later, she said. "Was I unclear yesterday?" "No," he said. "I just expected more resistance. I have had entire divisions relocated for my convenience," she said. "I think I can survive one 7-year-old in the executive suite." There was a small glint in her eyes as she said it. "Thank you," he said. "Do not thank me," she replied. "Dumbad, show up again after you drop her off. That is all." He took the elevator down, caught a train that rattled and stalled twice between stations, and reached the school as the last group of children were spilling out. Lily stood near the office door, backpack on castle drawing rolled in her fist. "You are late," she said when she saw him, but she smiled as she said it. "Trains were grumpy," he replied. "Guess where we are going?" "Home," she said. "Work," he said. "Then maybe home. How do you feel about a very tall building?" Her eyes widened. "The sky building," she breathed. He laughed. "Do not call it that where anyone can hear you," he said. On the ride back, she peppered him with questions. How many windows did it have? Did the top sway when it was windy? Did the people inside look like ants when you were higher than them? He answered what he could, made up nothing. At the security desk, Dan checked her name against the note in his system. "So this is the famous Lily," he said. Lily clutched her drawing closer to her chest. "Are you the castle inspector?" she asked. Dan grinned. "Only on weekends." They took the elevator to 51. Lily's shoes sank into the carpet. Her hand found his without looking. "Talk about soft," she whispered. "It is just a hallway," he said, but he felt the same strange distance from his own life as the first time he saw it. Kara met them at the corner. "You must be Lily," she said. "I am Kara. Your dad is going to be in that office for a while. Would you like a place to draw?" Lily angled her head back to look up at her. "Do you have a big piece of paper?" she asked. "Bigger than this." "We have an entire wall," Kara said. She led them to a conference room with a whiteboard that ran along one side. Dry erase markers sat in a tray lined up in neat color order. Lily stared. "I can draw on it?" she asked. She sounded as if she was checking the limits of a dream. "Yes," Kara said, "as long as it comes off. When you are done, you can show Ms. Ward. She likes castles too." Noah had not known that. He glanced at Elena through the glass wall as they passed her office. She was on a call headset on posture straight. Her eyes flicked up just long enough to see them. Something in her face eased when she saw Lily. By the time Noah finished updating his reports and checking a few more panels in the hallway, an hour had passed. He realized he had not heard from Lily in that time. No footsteps in the hall, no complaints of boredom. He found her in the conference room, capped marker in her teeth, hair falling in her face as she filled the last corner of the whiteboard. The castle on the wall dwarfed anything she had done on paper. Towers rose toward the ceiling. Some were straight and smooth, others wrapped with scaffolding drawn in careful lines. The cracked tower from her fridge drawing stood in the center now, wrapped with tiny squares that looked like support braces. Ladders leaned against it. Little stick figures climbed some carrying boxes, some holding what might have been hammers. There was a dragon on a lower ledge, curled up, smoke curling from its nose. It did not look fierce so much as watchful. "This one is us," she said when she saw Noah in the doorway. She pointed to a figure near the base of the cracked tower. "Me and you, we fix things." And this, a voice behind him said, "Must be me." Elena stood just outside the doorway, one hand on the frame. Lily turned eyes going round. "You came," she said. "You invited me," Elena answered. She stepped into the room with more care than she used walking into board meetings. Her gaze moved over the drawing, taking in each tower, each flag, each support line. "Which one am I?" she asked. Lily pointed to the tallest tower. It had a line of small marks near the top that might have been windows. A narrow crack ran down one side. Someone had drawn a series of beams across it, reinforcing the weak spot. "This one," Lily said. "It broke here." She tapped the crack. "But they are fixing it from the inside so it does not fall." Elena stared at the mark under Lily's fingertip. "Who is fixing it?" she asked. "The people who live there," Lily said. "And the knights, and the princess. She fixes things too. She just forgot for a while." Elena looked at her, as if she had been handed a file that contained information no one else had seen. "It is beautiful," she said. Her voice was quiet. "You are a real artist." Lily's face lit up. "Thank you," she said. "I can draw you sometime. You have cool hair." For the first time in days, Noah heard Elena laugh. It was not sharp or controlled. It slipped out, surprising them both. "Maybe one day," she said, "when your dad is not watching." On the train ride home that night, Lily leaned her head on Noah's arm. "Ms. Ward is lonely," she said, as if announcing the weather. He looked down at her. "What makes you say that?" he asked. "She looked at my castle like you look at the old pictures of Mom," Lily said. "Like she is remembering something that was happy and sad at the same time." He turned his face toward the window. The city slid by in streaks of light and shadow. "That is a big thought," he said. "I have a lot of those," she replied. He believed her. The storm arrived the way big storms often did in Chicago, almost politely at first. By late afternoon, clouds stacked along the horizon, thick and dark, edging the buildings in a dull silver. The wind picked up around Wardline Tower, curling down the glass walls in invisible hands. From 51, the river looked bruised. Noah noticed the air change before he saw the sky. In the small office that served as his base, the vents gave a deeper sigh. The monitors that tracked building systems showed a slight shift in load, as people turned on more lights, more screens, more everything. He ran a quick check on the backup generators for the upper floors. The readouts held steady. Fuel levels normal, switches green. Still, his shoulders tightened a little. On the other side of the floor, Elena wrapped up her last afternoon meeting. The video call ended with polite words and frozen smiles. She closed the laptop and massaged the bridge of her nose. Her assistant stepped in. "You have the quarterly call with the London office at 6, Kara said. "They want a test run 15 minutes before." "That gives me time to change," Elena said. She rose, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her skirt. The dress she had worn all day was a work dress, fine for internal meetings, not for a call where half the board would dial in with wine glasses and judgment. She took the corridor to 51A without a second thought. The hallway smelled faintly of the citrus cleaner they used on the woodwork. Her heels sank softly into the carpet. Inside 51A, the world was quiet. The lights were set low. The city pressed against the floor-to-ceiling windows, clouds pushing closer. She hung the dress she had chosen for the call on the wardrobe hook and slipped out of the one she had on. Standing in the soft lamplight, she tried not to think of the last time this room had felt unsafe. Noah's startled face in the doorway, the alarm, the way her body had locked up. She had changed the lock codes herself the day after. Installed an extra manual deadbolt hidden behind the doorframe, one only she could reach. She checked it now, habit more than fear, set secure. The sound of rain ticked against the glass, then thickened, a slow drumbeat that grew heavier each passing minute. In the control room, 2 floors below, a small box on the wall lit amber. One of the technicians frowned at it, then tapped his keyboard. "Storm's Landing," he murmured. On 12, someone cursed as a stack of papers near an open window fluttered to the floor. On the ground, umbrellas turned inside out. On 51, Noah stepped into the service alcove that housed one of the main electrical risers. The hum there was deeper, more alive. He rested his hand on the metal casing. It was warm, not hot. The gauge on the side quivered, then settled. His radio buzzed. Tech to all floors. Heavy weather advisory, Keller's voice said. We may get a brief flicker. Generators are on standby. Stay in place. Avoid elevators until we give the all clear. Copy, Noah said. Lightning spidered across the clouds, a white vein that flashed against the glass. A second later, thunder rolled over the tower, low and long, vibrating in the walls. Noah watched the overhead lights blink once. They steadied. Elena stepped into the small attached bathroom off 51A. She turned on the vanity light, its glow warmer than the overheads. The mirror showed her a woman in a half-buttoned blouse, hair pinned back, expression composed by practice. She opened her compact and brushed powder across her cheekbones. Outside, the rain hit harder, a sheet now, not drops. The old part of her brain that had grown up in a drafty house in Ohio did a quick calculation of storm plus aging infrastructure. The rational part reminded it that Wardline Tower was reinforced, modern, prepared. Lightning hit closer. The flash filled the room. The lights went out. Not a flicker, not a dip. One moment they were there, the next total darkness. The sudden absence was complete. The storm noise seemed to get louder to fill it. For half a second, Elena froze. Not because she wanted to, because some wordless part of her slammed on the brakes. Emergency lights, she thought. The next system will trigger. They did not. On 51, the red strips along the baseboards flared for a heartbeat, then died. In the control room, 3 floors of monitors went black at once. We just lost mains, someone said. Generators did not catch, someone else answered. There was a scramble of movement, chair wheels squeaking. In the riser alcove, the hum under Noah's hand hiccuped and stopped. The silence that rushed in had weight. The radio on his hip crackled, then went quiet. Come on, he whispered. He pulled his phone from his pocket. The working screen looked too bright in the surrounding dark. The signal bars were thin but present. He turned the flashlight on, and a narrow cone of light cut through the black. The rational part of his brain ran the checklist. Check generators. Check main switchgear. Call Keller. Restore power. The part of him that had been watching Elena more closely than he should for weeks sent up a different alert. She is somewhere on this floor, inside a room with doors that lock when systems fail. He hesitated only a heartbeat, then pointed the light down the corridor. The building without its mechanical noise felt like a different creature. No hum from vents, no distant elevator bells, only the storm, the creak of glass and its frame, his own footsteps. He moved quickly, the beam of his phone quivering slightly with each step. The light slid over polished wood-framed artwork, the blank eyes of security cameras that were no longer watching. Elena stood very still in the bathroom, fingers planted on the edge of the counter. Somewhere inside the walls, a relay clicked and failed. The silence pressed closer. She could not see her own hands. She reached out in the dark, feeling for the doorframe. Her fingertips brushed smooth wood, found the angle, then slid along it to the handle. Her palm hit flat panel. No handle. She swallowed. The bathroom door was one of those modern designs, flush with the wall, the handle a simple vertical strip. In the dark, smooth became featureless. She let her hand drift sideways, searching. Nothing. Her breath picked up quick and shallow. Calm down, she told herself. This is not that room. You are not 27 in a borrowed dress with someone's hand on your arm. The rain pounded. Thunder rolled louder this time. Her body did not care about the distinction. Her chest tightened. The air seemed thin. Every sound magnified. A drop of water in the pipes. The pulse in her ears. She tried to inhale slowly. The breath turned into a hitch. She found the edge of the counter and slid one hand down its side until it met the cool tile of the floor. She lowered herself until she was sitting back against the cabinet, knees pulled up. The position was ridiculous, a CEO in dry cleaning ready clothes hugging the floor like a child. It was better than falling. She closed her eyes against the dark she could not see through anyway. Noah reached 51A and found the small emergency light above the door out. The card reader, normally glowing green or red, was dead. He put his ear to the wood. At first the storm drowned everything. Then he heard it faint but there, a fast pattern of breath. Not quite a sob, not quite a gasp. Elena, he called, voice low. Ms. Ward, can you hear me? There was a small pause. The breathing hitched, then continued. Her reply came out thin. Who is that? It is Noah, he said. Noah Reyes. I am in the hall outside your door. Silence except for the rain and the far-off rumble of the sky. Of course you are, she said. The words were a whisper. The power is out. I know, he said. I need to get you out of there. The locks are dead, she said. Everything is dead. They are fail secure, he said, which means I can override them manually. His phone light picked out the small panel beside the door. He found the notch at the bottom and pried it open with his nails. Inside, a lever waited old-fashioned mechanical. He grabbed it and pulled. For a breath, nothing changed. Then he heard the soft metallic thunk of a lock withdrawing. He pushed the door open. The room beyond was a void broken only by the flash of lightning through the windows. For a second, the interior sprang into stark relief. Sofa, wardrobe, the outline of the bathroom door, then darkness again. He stepped inside, keeping the light low to avoid blinding them both. "Elena," he said, "I am coming in. I have a light." He crossed the floor by memory and the faint glint of stone under his feet. The air felt different here, warmer, the storm pressing at the glass. He turned the light toward the bathroom, careful not to shine it directly at her face. She sat on the floor beside the vanity knees, pulled tight, one hand pressed against her chest. Her eyes were wide and unfocused. In the sudden beam, she flinched. He set the phone on the counter with the light angled up so it bounced off the ceiling. The room filled with a softer glow. He lowered himself to a crouch at her level, a careful distance away. "You are in 51A, he said. He kept his voice even the way he did when talking to Lily through a nightmare. "Wardline Tower, 51st floor. There was a power failure, that is all. No one else is in here, just you and me." Her gaze slowly found his face. Her breathing was still quick, but no longer racing. Every time she said, the words quivered. "Every time I think it is done, it comes back, like a trick." "It is not a trick," he said. "It is your body trying to keep you safe, even when you already are." "That is generous," she said. She shifted her shoulder, brushing the cabinet. He noticed her hands were shaking just a little. "Can I touch you?" he asked. Her eyes flicked to his. There was a flash of surprise there that he had asked. "Yes," she said. "Here." She tapped her shoulder. He reached out slowly and laid his hands on her shoulders, the way he might steady someone on a moving bus. His grip was firm, not tight. "Look at me," he said. She did. "Breathe with me," he said. In slowly, out slowly. He exaggerated his own breath, drawing air in through his nose, letting it out through his mouth. After a moment, her chest began to match the rhythm. The storm filled the silence between their breaths, rain against glass, thunder a little farther away now. Her fingers uncurled from her blouse. Some of the tension left her jaw. "I am not afraid of you," she said. The statement came out almost conversationally. He blinked. "Good," he said. "I would hate for this to ruin my reputation." A small sound escaped her, almost a laugh. "I am serious," she said. "I am sitting on a bathroom floor with a man in the dark, and I am not afraid of him. That is new." "Likewise," he said. Her brows drew together. "What do you mean?" she asked. He shifted his grip enough that he could see her more clearly in the dim light. "I am in a locked room with my boss," he said. "In circumstances that could look very bad on camera, I should be terrified. Of the optics, of the fallout. I am not. I just want to make sure you can stand up without falling over." "You are a strange man, Mr. Reyes," she said. "Probably," he said. They stayed like that for what felt to both of them like longer than it was. The phone light hummed. The storm slowly moved on the thunder rolls, stretching farther apart. When eventually the building's systems shuddered back to life on lower floors, the first sign on 51 was a thin red glow returning to the emergency strip by the baseboard. Noah glanced at it, then back at her. "You ready?" he asked. "We can get you out of here and into somewhere with more windows and less memories." She looked around the room, as if seeing it for the first time since the lights had gone out. Then she nodded. "Help me up," she said. He removed his hands from her shoulders and replaced them with his palms open for her to take. She did, and let him pull her to her feet. Her legs wobbled once, then held. He left the phone light on until they were both standing in the doorway, the corridor in front of them painted in faint red lines. When the main power finally came back, it did so in layers. First, the red strips along the walls brightened, then the overhead fixtures hummed and flickered to life. The ventilation kicked on with a cough that settled into a familiar rush of air. Somewhere down the corridor, an elevator bell chimed, tentative at first, then regular. Noah walked Elena to her office, staying half a step to the side. She moved carefully, as if her bones had been rattled loose and were still deciding whether to stay put. At her door, she paused. "Thank you," she said. "For pulling a lever and holding a flashlight," he answered. "For not acting like I was a broken thing on a work order," she said. He did not have a reply to that did not sound either cheap or too heavy for the hallway. He just nodded. "You should check the generators," she added, "before Keller loses his mind." "That is the plan," he said. She opened her office door and stepped inside. As it closed, the lock clicked solid and familiar. He listened to that sound a fraction longer than usual, then turned toward the service stairs. He spent the next few hours in the guts of the building tracing the failure point. A relay that should have thrown to generator power had stubbornly stayed in place. On paper, it looked like an equipment malfunction. In person, with the metal still faintly warm under his fingers, he was not as sure. By the time he got home, night had folded over the city. Lily was already asleep, sprawled sideways across her bed, hand resting near the bucket that now sat empty. His mother waited at the small kitchen table, worry lines still faint around her mouth, even as she smiled. "You look tired," she said. "You should see the building," he replied. He slept hard and dreamless and woke with the storm of memory. The next morning, Wardline Tower looked unchanged from the outside. The glass gleamed. The lobby smelled of coffee and polish. The morning rush flowed as usual. Down on the maintenance level, the room where Noah kept a desk was even more chaotic than normal. Technicians came and went, trading stories about how the blackout had caught them. Emergency calls flashed and cleared on the shared screen. Marty cornered him near the supply cabinet. "Control said you were on 51 when it went dark," he said. "You all right?" "Still here," Noah said. "Rumor is you were stuck with the big boss." "That is one way to put it," Noah said. Marty opened his mouth for another question, then stopped. His gaze slid past Noah's shoulder. His spine straightened. "Speaking of," he murmured. Noah turned. Elena Ward stood in the doorway. She wore dark pants and a blazer over a pale blouse. Her hair was pulled back. There was nothing casual about her presence here. It was like seeing a hawk in a laundry room. Conversation in the small space stuttered, then died. The buzzing fluorescent above the bulletin board suddenly sounded very loud. "Ms. Ward," Marty said, "we were not expecting—" He let the sentence trail off. There was no good ending for it. "I will not take much of your time," she said. Her eyes found Noah. "Mr. Reyes, can we talk?" He wiped his hands on a rag, suddenly glad he had at least started the day in a clean shirt. "Sure," he said. He followed her into the hallway, aware of a dozen eyes on his back. The door closed behind them. The hall smelled faintly of oil and metal, a world away from the citrus and glass upstairs. She looked slightly out of place here, but not uncomfortable. "I came to apologize," she said. He blinked. "For what?" he asked. "For dragging you into my mess," she said. "Twice now, once in front of my door, once on the bathroom floor." "You did not drag me anywhere," he said. "The system did. That bad relay did. Whoever is playing with your locks did." Her mouth twitched. "You make a good point," she said. "Still, people who know about my issue tend to look at me differently afterward. Softer, cautious, like I am made of glass. You did not do that. I do crawl through a lot of glass," he said. "It has never struck me as fragile." A short laugh escaped her before she could stop it. "In your file," she said, "they note your sense of humor as a strength." "They do not," he said. "They should," she replied. She let her gaze flick briefly toward the door to the maintenance room, then back to him. "Everyone who has known about my attacks," she continued, "has put me in one of two boxes: liability or cause, something to manage or something to blame. You put me in neither. You just helped me stand up. I did the same thing I would do if a pipe burst," he said. "Stop the leak, then figure out why it happened." "That is a terrible metaphor," she said. "Accurate, though," he said. Her eyes softened in a way that made her look younger, despite the lines of fatigue he could see now that he was closer. "I was not afraid of you," she said again, quieter. "I remember," he said. "I keep thinking about that," she said, "about what it means." He shifted his weight. "I keep thinking about the fact that the building is not the thing keeping you safe," he said, "for what it is worth." There was a small silence that did not feel hostile. The sound of running footsteps broke it. "Daddy, look." Lily's voice shot around the corner before she did. A second later, she appeared, hair flying, backpack thumping against her side. His mother trailed behind her, slightly out of breath. "I told her to slow down," his mother said, but she saw the sign and Lily skidded to a halt at the sight of Elena. Her eyes widened. "Hi," she said. "You are here." "I am," Elena said. "So are you." Lily held up a folded sheet of paper. "I drew the sky building," she announced, "but it is from the top this time." Before Noah could remind her not to run in the halls, she turned to show him, stepped back over a coil of cable lying in a lazy loop on the floor, and caught her heel. The twist happened too fast for thought. Noah reached out, but he was half a second too slow. Elena moved. She caught Lily under the arms before her head could connect with the concrete, pulling her against her hip in one smooth motion. The paper fluttered to the floor. "Careful," Elena said softly. "Knights need both knees in working order." Lily's eyes were round, but she did not cry. After a moment, she let out a breath that sounded suspiciously like a laugh. "I am okay," she said. Her arms tightened around Elena's neck, as if this were the most natural anchor in the world. She smelled of crayons and the shampoo his mother bought when it was on sale. Noah's heart hopped once in his chest at the sight. Sorry, he said. We talked about walking, not sprinting. It is fine, Elena said. She is light. Lily relaxed slightly and turned her head so she could see up into Elena's face. Thank you, she said. You caught me. That is true, Elena said. I am going to put you down now, or your father will think I am stealing you. Lily considered this, then nodded. Elena lowered her carefully until her shoes found the floor. Lily kept a hand on her sleeve for a second longer than necessary. My grandma's doctor was late, Lily explained, as if that accounted for everything. So, Dad brought me again. He said there are a lot of doors up here. There are, Elena said. We are trying to make sure they all work the way they should. Lily glanced between them, as if trying to hear the conversation under the one she could understand. I am glad you are not lonely, she told Elena. Noah shot her a look. Lily, he said. What she said? She is not. She has you. And all these people. Elena's lips parted, as if Lily had reached out and pressed a hand directly to some unguarded part of her. I have more people than I realized, Elena said. Keller appeared at the end of the hall, then looking slightly harried. Miss Ward, he said. We just got the preliminary generator report if you want. He trailed off at the sight of her in the basement next to Noah, with a child holding her sleeve. I will be up in a minute, she said without looking away from them. Yes, Mom, Keller said, backing away. Elena glanced at Noah. I did not mean to disrupt your whole department, she said. You stepped into a room we keep together with duct tape and habit, he said. A little disruption is good for us. She nodded once, then looked down at Lily. Will you show me the sky building drawing before you go? She asked. Lily bent to retrieve the paper. A faint shoe mark streaked one corner. She brushed it off and unfolded the drawing. From the way she held it, Noah could tell she had drawn the view she imagined from the roof, a tumble of smaller buildings and streets below. Later, Elena said, bring it upstairs when your dad has a break. I should go pretend to listen to engineers explain why a machine that cost more than a house refused to do its job. She stepped back, straightened her blazer, and inclines her head faintly to both of them. Thank you again, Noah, she said. For last night, for today. He nodded. Anytime, he said. Then she turned and walked down the hall, heels clicking against concrete hair catching the low light. The door to the maintenance room opened as she passed. Every head inside tilted to watch. Lily tugged on his sleeve. She really is less lonely now, she said. He did not argue. The boardroom sat on 55 above even the executive offices, as if it wanted physical proof that it was closer to the clouds than the street. Elena arrived 10 minutes early. The corridor outside was carpeted in a deeper shade than the floor below, a quiet signal of hierarchy. A glass case on the wall displayed a miniature of Wardline Tower, all blue glass and steel lines lit from within by a tiny bulb. Inside the boardroom, the lights were soft and even. A long table of dark wood ran down the center, the surface polished enough to catch reflections. Floor-to-ceiling windows on one side showed the river and the city gray-blue under a sky that had not yet decided if it wanted to rain again. Folders waited at each leather chair. A tray of untouched water bottles sat near the end of the table. Murmured conversations floated in the air as members arrived greeting each other in careful tones. Elena set her tablet down at her seat at the head of the table and pulled her chair in. She skimmed the agenda on the printed sheet. Q3 results, infrastructure upgrade proposals, risk assessments. Normal. She opened the folder in front of her. Quarterly charts, revenue curves. A stack of updated bylaws with tracked changes. She turned one more page and saw it. A single photograph, printed on glossy paper clipped to the back of the packet. The image was grainy, caught in low light. The angle was slightly high, as if taken from a corner or an elevated device. It showed a man in a dark shirt, arms around a woman whose face was partly hidden against his chest. His head was turned down toward her. Her hands were fisted in his sleeves. The circle of light around them was small, leaving the rest of the room in shadow. Noah, in 51A, the night of the blackout. Her stomach dropped so fast she felt almost lightheaded. Her eyes moved automatically to the margins of the photo. No timestamp, no logo. Whoever had printed it had cropped out any marks that might give away the source. Across the table, a silver-haired man in a navy suit and striped tie lifted his own copy by the corner. Before we begin, Victor Hale said, his voice smooth, I think there is a matter we should address. Conversations faltered. Paper rustled. As heads turned, hands flipped through folders. One by one, other board members found their own copies of the photograph. A murmur spread low and sharp. Victor held the picture up where everyone could see it. The overhead lights caught the gloss and sent a faint glare across the center, making the circle around the two figures even more pronounced. "This was delivered to several of us early this morning," he said, anonymously. His tone was calm, almost concerned. His eyes were not. Elena sat very still. The edges of the photo under her fingertips felt too smooth. Victor lowered the paper and laid it carefully on the table. "Now, I am sure there is an explanation," he said. "There always is. But given the company's profile and recent attention on leadership conduct, it seems irresponsible not to discuss it." One of the older members frowned down at his copy, adjusting his glasses. Another coughed a dry, uncomfortable sound. A woman near the middle of the table, Cheryl Park, leaned in, studying the image more closely, her brow furrowed. No one said anything yet. The picture showed Noah from the side. His arms were around Elena's shoulders, steady. Her body leaned into his. The darkness around them made it look intimate in a way the moment had not been. There was no sign of the locked door. The panic the world narrowed to a circle of flashlight glow. Victor turned his gaze to her. "Elena," he said, "would you care to tell us what we are looking at?" She looked at the photo again. The ink did not blur. The scene did not change. She could lie. Say it was nothing. An unfortunate angle, a private matter. She could push all the focus onto Noah, call it inappropriate contact from a subordinate, pretend she had been caught off guard, demand his removal. Her pulse thudded in her throat. The room felt too warm. She remembered standing on stage at that conference 3 years ago, lights in her eyes, hand throbbing where fingers had dug in. No one in that audience had known what had happened 5 minutes earlier in the dressing room. She had spoken about transparency and resilience while her skin crawled. She remembered Noah's hands on her shoulders in the dark, solid and present. The way he had asked before touching her. The way he had made himself a reference point, not a threat. She slid the photo further onto the table so it lay flat. "What you are looking at," she said, "is an employee helping me through a panic attack during a building-wide power failure." There was a small collective intake of breath. A few members glanced at each other, eyebrows lifting. Victor blinked once. "A panic attack," he repeated. "Yes," she said. "Triggered by circumstances that you are unfortunately about to hear far more about than any of us would prefer." A muscle jumped in his jaw. "Elena, no one is asking for personal details," he said. "We are simply concerned about the optics of the CEO in a compromising position with a member of the maintenance staff in the dark during a security incident." The word compromising hung there sticky. Cheryl's eyes flicked from the photo to Elena's face. "What caused the panic?" Cheryl asked quietly. Elena felt every gaze in the room turn fully to her. The table seemed to stretch. For a moment she felt an old urge to turn away, to cut this line of questioning off, to say it was handled, to keep her story behind locked doors. She thought of Noah's file. 6 years, no disciplinary marks, a daughter who drew castles with broken towers and scaffolding. She thought of the camera feed that had gone dark right before he stepped off the elevator, the deactivated account that had turned off her automatic lock. Someone had tried to use her trauma and his decency as leverage. She set her hands palms flat on the table. 3 years ago, she said, I was attending a conference in New York as a keynote speaker. There was a shared dressing area for presenters. While I was getting ready, a colleague entered uninvited and refused to leave when asked. She did not dramatize. She did not soften. She let the facts sit in the center of the table. He used his body to block the door. She continued. He put his hands on me and did not respond to my attempts to disengage. I was only able to exit the situation when another person entered the room unexpectedly. A man near the far end shifted in his seat, discomfort evident. Someone else stared out the window for a second, jaw tight. I did not go public, she said. I was advised that it would become a spectacle, that it would affect our stock, that it would be my word against his. There were legal discussions. There were agreements. What remained afterward was my nervous system's tendency to respond to certain triggers as if they were threats even when they are not. She let her gaze move around the table, refusing to drop it. Closed doors, she said. Sudden confinement. Loss of control over my environment. Unexpected male presence when I am alone behind that door. No one reached for their water. No one shuffled their papers. The silence was taut. The blackout last night triggered all of those at once, she said. I was in my private suite preparing for a call. The power failed. Emergency systems did not come on. I was trapped in a dark, sealed room. My mind knew I was in Wardline Tower. My body did not care. She nodded toward the picture. Mr. Reyes gained access using a manual override on the door after the electronics failed, she said. He used a flashlight to provide light and anchored me with his presence until the systems came back online. That is the moment you see in that photograph. She could feel her pulse in her fingertips, but her voice did not shake. Cheryl looked down at the image again. Her eyes narrowed not with suspicion now, but with a different kind of focus. "Who took it?" she asked. "That Elena said is my question as well." Victor cleared his throat. "Security cameras record during outages using backup power," he said. "It is possible that—" "No," Elena said. "The internal logs show that our hallway camera feeds were down during that time. If this was pulled from a device in our system, that means someone recorded during an outage, exported the image, and sent it anonymously to members of this board. If it was taken from a personal device, that means someone was physically present with a camera, pointed into my private suite during a crisis." She looked at Victor. "Do you consider either of those acceptable uses of company infrastructure," she asked, "or employee time?" His mouth tightened. "You can understand why we would be concerned about the appearance of impropriety," he said. "We are trying to protect you as well as the company. By circulating a photograph without context of a woman in distress being supported by someone who works for her," she said, "without asking me a single question about it first." He looked as if he wanted to deny that, then thought better of it. Elena, another board member, Harris said, "No one here wants to minimize what you went through. But, given the climate, these situations can be misinterpreted in very public ways. It might be advisable to put some distance between you and this man, at least until we complete a review." "You mean, remove him," she said. "Discipline him, terminate him, for walking through a door someone else unlocked and helping his employer breathe through a trauma response." Harris spread his hands in a helpless gesture. "We need to show that we take these matters seriously," he said. She straightened in her chair. "If this board decides to punish Mr. Reyes for showing basic human compassion to a person in crisis," she said, "you will have my resignation on your desks within the hour." The words landed like a dropped plate. One of the older men sat back as if struck. Cheryl's eyes widened. Harris opened his mouth, then closed it again. Victor's cheeks flushed slow and dark, the color creeping up from his collar. "Elena," he said, tone smoothing, "no one is asking for your resignation. We need your leadership, especially now." "Then hear me clearly," she said. "The narrative you are being invited to entertain, the one in which this photograph suggests misconduct, is false. The true risk to this company is not an imaginary scandal between a CEO and a maintenance worker. It is the fact that someone inside our walls used either our own systems or their personal device to monitor my movements without authorization, then weaponized that against us both." She tapped the photo once with her fingertip. "This image was not taken by a journalist," she said. "It was taken by someone with access, someone who knew where I was, who I was with, and who wanted to plant doubt in this room." Cheryl spoke, her voice cutting through the buzz that threatened to rise. "I would like to know what we have in place to protect employees, including the CEO, from this kind of surveillance," she said. "Because right now, it sounds like anyone on an upper floor could be watched in their most vulnerable moments and turned into printouts." Her choice of the word employees was not missed. Elena inclined her head to Cheryl in brief acknowledgement. "I have already tasked Mr. Reyes," she said, "with auditing our executive-level security infrastructure. He has identified several physical anomalies in lock housings that suggest tampering. He has discovered evidence of a deactivated account being used to modify my door's behavior. He has been on this assignment for 3 days and has uncovered more than our contracted consultants managed in months." Murmurs again different now. Victor frowned. "You put a maintenance worker in charge of investigating a security breach," he said, "without consulting the board. I put the only person in this building whose access logs prove he was not involved in either of the incidents in question in a position to notice things the rest of us have stopped seeing," she said. "And yes, I did that without convening a committee." She opened the folder in front of her and slid a second document out. This one bore the company letterhead, but not the grainy photo. Effective immediately, she said, "I am formalizing his role. I am promoting Noah Reyes to head of executive security systems, reporting directly to me and to the chief security officer. His remit is to oversee the hardware and access controls for floors 51 through 55, to identify vulnerabilities and to ensure that no one can use our own infrastructure as a weapon against our staff." A man 2 seats down from Victor cleared his throat. "Is that position in the org chart?" he asked. "It is now," she said. "If you wish to argue about its title, we can do so after we have located the person who took this photograph." Cheryl's gaze dropped for a moment to Elena's collar, as she shifted the edge of her blouse, shifting with her. A faint shadow of a bruise still colored the skin near the line of her jacket. It had faded since Noah first saw it, but it was not gone. Cheryl looked back up, face set. "I support this," she said, "both the investigation and the promotion. If someone is exploiting our systems to harass the CEO, they can do it to anyone. I would like it to stop before my own face appears in a packet like this. One by one, a few heads nodded. Harris glanced around, gauging the shift. Victor's fingers tightened on his pen. He seemed to weigh his options calculations moving behind his eyes. At last, he forced a thin smile. If our goal is to strengthen security, he said, then having someone focus solely on that at the executive level is not unreasonable. I still believe we need a full review of procedures, but I will not oppose the creation of the role. Good, Elena said. Then here is what will happen next. Security will trace the origin of this photograph. Every access point, every device. I want a list of names with legitimate access and a list of those who should not have had it. We will cooperate fully with any legal consequences that may follow. In parallel, Mr. Reyes will continue his audit and report directly to me. She let her gaze sweep the table. And there will be no disciplinary action taken against him related to my panic attack, she said. If anyone would like to object to that last point, now would be an excellent time. No one spoke. The storm outside shifted slightly, clouds thinning just enough for a band of light to slip through and strike the surface of the table. It glinted off the corner of the photograph, turning the printed light into a pale flare. Elena picked up the photo by its edge and slid it back into the folder face down. Then let us move on, she said. We have a quarter to close. The rest of the meeting passed in numbers and projections. People discussed supply chains and regulatory changes. Slides appeared and vanished on the screen at the end of the room. Elena tracked it all, made notes where she needed to, but a part of her remained with that inverted image on glossy paper. When the meeting finally adjourned, chairs scraped back in a chorus. Board members gathered their things, some glancing at her with something like respect, some with an unease they did not quite mask. Victor approached as the room thinned. That was quite a performance, he said. Very brave. Do not call it that, she said. I did not tell my story to win applause. You did put us all in a difficult position, he said. If any of this leaks, it will not be pretty, for you or for Wardline. If any of this leaks, she said, the only people who will have anything to answer for are the ones who tried to use it as leverage. Thank you for bringing the photograph to our attention, Victor. Truly, it saves me the trouble of wondering who had already seen it. His expression flickered just enough. She stepped away before he could respond. In the elevator down to 51, she was alone. The soft whir of the machinery surrounded her. For a brief second, the enclosed space and the hum pressed on familiar nerves. She breathed through it, counting the floors. When the doors opened, she walked out into the quieter executive corridor and turned toward her office. Kara met her halfway. How bad was it, she asked, then caught herself. Sorry. You do not have to answer that. It was necessary, Elena said. That will have to be enough for today. Kara hesitated. Do you want me to call Mr. Reyes up? She asked. He should hear about the promotion from you, not from an email. Elena considered that. The idea of him hearing the news third hand or from the rumor mill on 12 sat wrong. Yes, she said. Ask him to come by when he has a moment. Tell him it is not urgent enough to pull him off a ladder. I am not in the mood to explain another fall to Keller. Kara nodded, faint smile returning. I will let him know, she said. Elena went into her office and closed the door. For a moment she leaned against it, letting her forehead rest against the cool wood. Then she straightened, crossed to the window, and looked out at the city that had just heard a story it had not been meant to hear, told in a room where people were more accustomed to hiding their faults behind spreadsheets. On the street below, the traffic moved as always. People hurried with bags and umbrellas, unaware that somewhere above them, a picture had been turned back into context, and a man from the basement had been handed the keys to watch the doors at the top. By the time the message reached him, the story had already begun to leak through the building, the way coffee smell leaked through vents. Noah heard fragments in the stairwell. 2 marketing staff passed him, voices low. She said it in the room, one whispered, in front of all of them. About the conference, the other replied. And about the maintenance guy, the one on 51. They fell silent when they noticed him on the landing, nodded politely, and kept climbing. In his small office on 51, his inbox showed a new notification from HR. Position change notice, title adjusted, reporting line updated, no explanation. Before he could open it, his phone buzzed. Unknown extension. He answered. Reyes. Kara here, Elena's assistant said. If you are not somewhere dangerous, Ms. Ward would like to see you. Not on a ladder, he said. On a chair. That count. Close enough, she said. Come up when you can. He shut down the access control window he had been reviewing, scrubbed a hand over his face, and checked his shirt for anything that looked like he had lost a fight with a ceiling panel. It passed, mostly. The corridor outside Elena's office was quiet. The hum of the building had settled into its late afternoon rhythm. Through the glass, he could see her at her desk, shoulders slightly angled, as if the day had loaded weight onto one side. Kara looked up from her screen and gave him a small nod. "You can go in," she said. He knocked anyway. "Come in," Elena called. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The familiar click sounded softer than usual. She sat with her chair half turned toward the windows, a folder open on her lap instead of on the desk. The light behind her was warmer now, brushing the edges of the buildings in gold. "You wanted to see me," he said. "Yes," she said. "Sit." He took the chair opposite hers. For a second, neither of them spoke. She studied his face the way someone might study a blueprint, checking for cracks. "Have you heard anything about what happened on 55? She asked. "I heard there was a meeting," he said, "and that some people came out of it looking like they chewed glass. That is all." Her mouth curved briefly. "That sounds about right," she said. She closed the folder on her lap and set it on the desk between them. "They found a way to weaponize our own fear," she said. "I thought you deserved to know how I chose to respond." He nodded once. "I am listening," he said. "There was a photograph," she said, "of us in 51A during the blackout." His throat went dry. He did not need to see it to know the angle. His arms around her, her face hidden, the circle of light. "Someone sent it to members of the board anonymously," she said. "It was included in their packets today, placed between revenue charts and legal updates, as if it were just another line item to review." He pictured it, glossy paper on polished wood. "They asked for an explanation," she said. "They suggested very gently that there might be an issue of propriety." She did not say the other word, but it hung there anyway. "I could have spun it," she said. "I could have let them believe you crossed a line, and I had been too shocked to respond. It would have been the cleaner story on paper. The maintenance worker, the powerful woman. Everyone knows that script." The idea made his stomach twist. "I told them the truth," she said. "About the conference in New York. About the man who did not listen when I said no. About the way my body reacts now when it thinks a door has closed for the wrong reason." She said it without drama. The steadiness of it hurt more. "And I told them," she said, "that the man in that photograph saved me from a panic attack. That he did nothing inappropriate. That if they tried to discipline you for it, they would receive my resignation before they could finish drafting the letter." The room felt smaller. The air around his ribs tightened. "You should not have had to do that," he said. "Tell them all of that. Not for me." "No," she said. "I should not have had to, but I did. Because they were not aiming at me alone. They were aiming at you, at us, at the idea that anyone here can be decent without it being used as a blade." He opened his hands on his knees. "I am just a guy who pulls levers and replaces bad bulbs," he said. "You are the CEO. Your name is on the internet. Your face is on the financial pages. If this gets out, it will attach to you in ways it will never attach to me." "I am aware," she said. "I have considered that. I decided I am tired of living in a building where my fear is used as currency. If I have to drag it into the light to stop that from happening, I will." He looked at her, really looked. The way her shoulders were held both tired and set, the faint shadows under her eyes, the angle of her jaw. "What about them?" he asked. "The man from the conference." "His name came up in the meeting," she said. "In cautious, indirect ways. Lawyers will do what lawyers do. I cannot promise anything. But he is no longer walking through that door without people knowing who he is." He let that sit for a moment. "You said there was a photograph," he said, "and a promotion notice from HR just landed in my inbox. I am guessing those things are connected." "They are," she said. "I informed the board that you have been acting as de facto head of security technology for these floors. I decided to make that official." She slid the folder nearer to him. Inside, the paperwork he had skimmed earlier looked less abstract. His name printed neatly beside a new title, Head of Executive Security Systems. Reporting line CEO CSO. "You have been doing the work anyway," she said. "Now your job description matches reality." He touched the page with the back of one knuckle, as if testing whether it might vanish. "Do you want it?" she asked. "Yes," he said. Then, because it felt important to be precise, he added, "I want the work. The title I can live with or without. But if this lets me actually fix things up here, instead of just patching, then yes." "It will," she said. Silence settled for a few seconds, not heavy, just present. "You know this changes things," he said. "For me, for Lily." "In what way?" she asked. "More money helps," he said. "That is obvious. Roofers are not cheap. But it also paints a target. Whoever is behind this used me once. They could try again." "That is why I want you close," she said. "Where I can see you. Where you can see what they are doing." He gave a short, humorless huff. "The fish does not usually invite the canary into the shark tank," he said. That is not how that metaphor works, she said. You know what I mean? He said. She smiled just a little. I do, she said. He shifted in his chair, the movement bringing him a fraction closer to the window. The skyline lay beyond her shoulder lines of light, beginning to wink on as evening approached. I heard some of the talk on the way up, he said. People in the stairwell, they said you told them. About New York. I did, she said. You should not have had to, he said again. She watched him. You keep saying that, she said, as if you had asked me to. I did not, he said. Exactly, she said. You did not ask for any of this. You did not scheme your way into my office or that photograph. You were trying to do your job and go home to your kid. I am not going to sit still while they use you as a prop in their story. He looked down at his hands. The calluses on his fingertips were familiar little badges of all the things he had fixed that no one remembered. His reflection in the window was faint, doubled with hers. Thank you, he said. You are welcome, she said. He laughed once low. I do not know what to do with that, he said. You do not have to do anything with it, she replied. Just keep doing the work. Keep telling me when something does not look right. That will be enough. He hesitated, then lifted his eyes back to hers. There is something I did not say that night, he said. In the bathroom. Her expression shifted, alert but open. You said you were not afraid of me, he said. In the dark. That I was the first man in a long time you could be alone with like that and not feel that way. I remember, she said. I was not afraid either, he said. Not of being that close to you. Not of wanting to protect you. I was afraid of what it would look like. Of someone twisting it. Of losing my job over it. But you in that moment did not scare me. The words felt heavier than anything else he had said in that office. They were simple. They rearranged something anyway. Her breath caught very softly enough that only someone watching her too closely would have noticed. No one has ever said it like that, she said. They say they will protect the company, the shareholders, the brand. You talk about protecting me. You are the one who stopped breathing, he said, not the building. She looked down at the folded promotion letter, then out at the windows, then back at him. Tell me I did not make a mistake, she said quietly, in trusting you. In pulling you into this. He did not hesitate. You did not make a mistake, he said. You trusted the right person. Something in her shoulders eased as if a cord had loosened. All right, she said. He pushed himself up from the chair. I should get back to the Ducks, he said, or Kara will accuse me of turning your office into my second home. Too late, Elena said. She already calls you by your first name. She does, he said. It is unnerving. He reached for the door, then paused, hand on the handle. If they come at you again, he said, looking back at her with more photos, more stories, anything, you call me, before you call anyone else. She studied him, then inclined her head. Go fix my building, Noah, she said. Yes, Mom, he said automatically, then caught himself. Sorry, yes, Elena. As he stepped into the hallway, the office door closed behind him with that same soft click. The lock engaged. From outside, it sounded less like a barrier and more like something holding steady. 3 months later, the hallway outside 51A felt like a different place. The carpet was the same, the pale wood, the glass, the quiet air. The red strip of the emergency light above the door glowed at half strength, a small reminder that systems hummed behind walls even when no one was looking. Elena stood a few feet from the door, hands loosely at her sides. She had not walked this stretch alone since the blackout. There had always been a purpose that took her past it, a meeting, a call, someone waiting at the end of the hall. Today there was no reason except the one she could not quite name. She studied the numbers on the door. 51A, simple metal flush with the surface. The paint around it was unmarked now. The scratch in the carpet by the wardrobe inside had been shaved, fibers coaxed back into place by a professional. If she did not know where to look, she would not find it. She could feel the weight of the keycard in her pocket. Since the night Noah had pulled the manual lever, she had added 2 more layers to this lock. One physical, one digital. Both had been tested and tested again. She did not touch the handle. Her eyes drifted instead to the tiny camera globe placed high in the corner near the ceiling, mostly hidden in the shadow line. It had been there before, wired into a system that someone else controlled. Now its feed ran to a dedicated server that Noah monitored himself. Control, she thought, not absolute, more than she used to have. She exhaled. What were you thinking about? Noah's voice came from behind her, mild, curious. She turned. He stood a few steps down the hall, tablet in one hand, a scuff of dust on the cuff of his shirt. The badge on his belt carried his new title in small, neat letters, Head of Executive Security Systems. The words still looked like someone had pushed them onto him from outside, but they fit better now. I did not mean to sneak up on you, he said. Occupational hazard, quiet shoes. "You are fine," she said. "I heard you." She had somewhere under the noise of her own thoughts, the faint rhythm of his footsteps had registered as familiar, not alarming. He joined her near the door, leaving a respectful amount of space. "So," he said, "nostalgia tour." "Something like that," she said. She looked back at 51A. The numbers did not move. "This is where it started," she said. He nodded. "Pretty much," he said, "if you do not count the leaky ceiling at my apartment." She smiled at that small and quick. He tilted his head. "You look like you were arguing with it," he said. "The door. Did it say something rude?" She took a breath through her nose. "I was thinking about the first time you opened it," she said. "About what actually shocked me. I am going to guess it was not the free show," he said. Her mouth curved, then steadied. "That was surprising," she said. "But it was not the thing that made me freeze." He watched her. The hallway was empty. The air between them felt still and expectant. "It was your eyes," she said. "In the mirror. The way you looked at me." His brows pulled together slightly. "I looked like a man about to die of embarrassment," he said. "You did," she said. "But there was no calculation behind it, no flicker of opportunity, no weighing of what you could get out of the situation. I am used to men who measure. You did not measure. You just looked shocked and then worried." He swallowed. "I was worried," he said. "Mostly that security was going to staple me to a wall. Also that you were going to think I was some kind of creep." "I saw enough to know you were not," she said. "I have seen guilty faces. They are smooth, sliding. Yours was all edges." "That is not the most flattering description," he said. "It is very flattering," she said. "Edges are honest." She paused, then went on. "You saw me in a position I spend an enormous amount of energy avoiding," she said. "Half dressed off guard in a room that is supposed to be mine. Vulnerable, exposed, completely defenseless." Her fingers brushed her own wrist where an old ghost of a grip sometimes ached on cold mornings. "And your only instinct," she said, "was to get out and make sure I was all right. Not to take anything, not to demand anything, just to leave me space." He shifted his weight eyes on the door now. "I saw a woman carrying more weight than one person should," he said quietly. "A cracked tower holding up too many rooms. Someone had made you stand there alone and hold it all. I wanted to help, even if all I could do at that point was apologize and back away." She turned her head. "You saw that in 3 seconds," she said. "I know a strange system when I see one," he said. "It is my job." "That is another terrible metaphor," she said. "It still fits," he said. Silence folded over them for a moment, comfortable the way a good coat settles over shoulders. Down the hall, the elevator doors opened with a soft ding. A small voice preceded the person it belonged to. "Dad, Grandma says I can stay if you say yes." Lily rounded the corner, backpack bouncing. She stopped short when she saw Elena, then beamed. "Hi," she said, slightly out of breath. "I did not know you were up here." "I live up here," Elena said, in a manner of speaking. Lily frowned, thinking that through. "That is a lot of time in one tower," she decided. "It is," Elena agreed. Lily turned to Noah. "Grandma has choir practice," she said. "She asked if I could hang out till dinner. I told her you would ask Miss Ward. Did you?" "Not yet," Noah said. "I got distracted by a door." Lily looked at Elena, eyes hopeful. "Can I stay?" she asked. "I brought my sketchbook. I drew a new castle. It has a unicorn and a secret garden." "A secret garden," Elena repeated. "Where nobody is scared," Lily said. "Ever. Not even the dragon." Elena felt something inside her chest shift, almost imperceptibly, like a lock sliding into a new position. "Better than staying," she heard herself say. "How would you and your dad feel about having dinner with me instead? There is a place a few blocks away with pasta so good it ruins you for all other pasta." Lily's jaw dropped. "For real," she said. "For real," Elena said. Lily turned to Noah, eyes wide. "Say yes," she whispered loudly. He looked at Elena. "If that is not too much," he said. "It is exactly the right amount," she replied. "Then yes," he said. "We would like that." Lily bounced once, then caught herself remembering the cable incident in the basement. "Can I show you the castle first?" she asked Elena. "So you know what you are getting into." "Absolutely," Elena said. "We can look at it on the way out." Lily slipped her hand into Elena's without hesitation. Her fingers were small, warm, present. For a split second, Elena's muscles tensed out of habit. Then they relaxed. She let the contact be what it was. They walked toward the elevator together. Noah walked on the other side of Lily, his shoulder close enough to Elena's that she could feel the warmth through his sleeve when they turned. As they passed the conference room with the whiteboard wall, Lily tugged. "There," she said. "That is where the big one is." Inside, last week's castle still took up most of the board. The cracked tower was no longer cracked. The line that had split it had been turned into a climbing vine drawn in green wrapping around the stone. The scaffolding was gone, replaced by balconies. A small garden sprawled at the base filled with trees and flowers and a curved bench. A unicorn grazed near a pond. "What happened to the break?" Elena asked. "They fixed it," Lily said. "From the inside. Now it is stronger than before." And the dragon Noah asked, pointing to the creature perched on a lower ledge. Lily shrugged. "He fell asleep," she said. "He is not needed as much." Elena traced the vine with her eyes. The slight tremor that used to accompany thoughts like this did not come. "It is beautiful," she said. Lily glanced up at her. "So are you?" she said, matter of fact, then turned away before either adult could respond. In the elevator they stood in a small triangle, Lily in front clutching her sketchbook, Noah on her left, Elena on her right. The mirrored walls reflected them back, layered. For a moment Elena caught their image, the man with the tool bag, the child with the castles, the woman who had spent too long in rooms like this alone. The doors closed with a soft shush. The car began to move. She watched the floor numbers tick down. 50, 40, 30. Her heart did not pound. Her breath stayed steady. The metal around them felt solid, not trapping. "Do you ever get tired of this ride?" Lily asked. "Sometimes," Elena said. "Sometimes it feels like the only way I know how to move is up and down." Lily considered that. "You can move sideways too," she said, "like to pasta." Elena smiled. "Like to pasta," she agreed. When the doors opened to the lobby, the noise of the ground floor washed over them. Voices, footsteps, the clink of cups from the cafe. Dan at the security desk lifted a hand in greeting as they passed. Outside, the evening air was cool, edged with the smell of the river and exhaust. The sky over the city was softening into blue-gray. Wardline Tower rose behind them, its windows catching the last of the light. Lily walked between them, her small hand still in Elena's. She chattered about unicorns and what kind of sauce counted as the best. Noah listened, answering. When she paused, eyes relaxed in a way they had not been months before. Elena glanced back once over her shoulder. From the sidewalk, the building looked like the model in the glass case. Smooth, perfect, unbothered. She knew better now, knew the seams, the cracks, the places where someone could have distorted it. Knew, too, where it had held. Up on 51 behind a closed door, 51A waited, locked, monitored. Just a room, no longer an echo chamber for old fear. She let her gaze drop from the tower to the sketchbook in Lily's arms. The corner of the new castle drawing peeked out. Towers, garden, vines where cracks had been. "Come on," Noah said quietly at her side. "They are going to run out of pasta if we stand here all night." "That would be a tragedy," she said. They crossed the street together toward a small restaurant whose windows glowed warm against the cooling day. The door ahead of them was wood and glass, its handle worn smooth by years of hands, its hinges uncomplicated. When she reached for it, her fingers did not hesitate. She pulled it open and stepped through, taking the others with her. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.